So you're a great friend of the Tate brothers, and everyone's hanging on for an update. What's
Yeah.
the latest?
They're doing well, man. It's easy to sleep well when you know you've done the right thing. There's zero doubt in my mind that Andrew and Tristan, zero. The biggest dilemma I think that we're looking at right now is not whether they're innocent or not, is whether they're going to get a fair shake, whether it's actually going to be a fair trial. You know, when you walk in, I said this yesterday on a podcast, when you walk into their front door, you walk about 10 steps, there's a little mini bar, and then you walk into the big living room where he did that final message on Rumble. And if you look directly to the left, there's about a 70-inch TV with 20 little screens show, like all the camera footage is there. If they need evidence, Andrew could give it to them. Why not just use that? It's very, very clear. And then here's another thing. If you look at the allegation itself, on what planet do two 6'3", 6'4", multimillionaires, handsome as fuck, world traveled, speak well, articulate gentlemen need to do that? Andrew and Tristan's biggest problem is which girl to pick. I can assure you. I've been at the tables with them. These are not slouch men in any way. It's the most obnoxious accusation that I could even think of. Like, come up with something else, write a hurt feelings report. Maybe they hurt a bunch of people's feelings, by telling them the truth, telling them they were brokies. Okay, fine. But he also probably saved a bunch of guys' lives doing that. So I think people just generally hate to see somebody win like that. Andrew's obviously very outspoken. He knows what he's doing when he's baiting people into upsetting them. And I think that he did what he had to do to play the media. He's very good at that game. And right now, he's just going through the trials and tribulations of anybody that does anything great. Every man that does something great will go through fire. And Andrew's just walking through his.
Do you think he's just become too powerful for the powers that be, and they just want
I
to
think that's
cane him back
yes,
a
sir.
little bit?
Yes, sir, I do. I think that's a great concern because he has the hearts of young men. You might ask a 40-year-old, who is Andrew Tate? He might not know. I challenge you to find a 15-year-old that doesn't know.
The funny thing is, I think most of the 40-year-olds do too as well. Like whenever
They
we
do.
get in a taxi or an Uber,
And they do now.
know,
They
it's
do
crazy.
now because he's
Because we're like, what? You don't know about Andrew Tate?
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
crazy that they don't know.
Yeah, and look, and I think it's very few and far between. I think that you could ask most anybody now because I'm pretty sure if he's not still, he was the most Googled man on the planet. And so for that reason, you're gonna come under a lot of fire at some point, or somebody's gonna have something to say. I think what's very challenging to the system, or the matrix, if you will, it's not a word I particularly use, but Andrew uses the word the matrix. I think what's so dangerous about Andrew to them is the fact that he's got the hearts and minds of the next generation that's supposed to go work for the system. And he's telling them where the system should put it.
What's amazing is I had a couple of young lads come in the shop the other day in one of my stores, and they were talking. They said, "Oh, Mark, we watch you on YouTube and all the rest of it,
Yeah.
and you've met Andrew. What's he like?" So we had a bit of a conversation, and they said to me, "Do you know what? We're not even allowed to mention his name at school." And they said the crazy thing about it is there was probably about a third of the school knew about him. But as soon as you're told you can't mention his name, suddenly everyone in the school knows about him.
Yeah, it's a mistake.
It
They're
is a
making him a
mistake.
martyr. It's like the same thing that's happening to Trump right now. It's like if you make somebody a living martyr, all you're going to do is pour gasoline to that fire.
It's crazy. My old school is hosting after school sessions with parents and teachers just to talk about Tate.
It's amazing, isn't
So
it?
is he adapting his plan now that obviously it's all blown up and he's got put into prison? Is he changing the way he approaches things or just still going down the same path?
I can't speak to that. I suspect, knowing Andrew, that he had a path all along. I don't know if he thought that it was going to be taken to this extreme. Like, he knew he was going to be canceled. I believe he said that when he was on the show with you
did,
guys.
yeah.
He knew. He didn't know to what amplification it would be done. What I hope for Andrew as his friend and somebody that loves him very dearly is that and I suspect that he will do this, start to show the other side of Andrew. See, there's Andrew online, and then there's the Andrew the world never sees. And I often say the best part of Andrew is the part the world never sees. Because, and that's one thing I've learned a lot from this. And one thing that I took from this experience with seeing Andrew go through this is that I was born in the 80s, right? And so growing up in the 80s and 90s, particularly in the deep South in America, it was have humility, be seen, not heard, talk with your work ethic. If you do something nice, keep it private. But I don't think that's a good idea moving forward. Because he does all of this charity, he does all of this work, he does all of these kind things for people all the time, and nobody knows about it. I hope and pray, and I have learned myself to start posting. When I do something nice for somebody, I hope I'm going to put it online, and I hope that he starts to show that beautiful side of him, that kind side of him, the side that you probably meet that was very polite when the cameras aren't on.
Well, to be honest,
polite
I
when they
think,
were on,
I
to be
think he
fair. Yeah,
came
and both.
across really well on our podcast.
Right.
And if people haven't watched the podcast with Andrew that we did, they should watch it, because we weren't digging. We weren't trying to get to any message from him. We just wanted him as he is. We let him speak, and he was great.
Yeah, I'm biased, but I think it's the best pod he's done.
Because you're on it.
But no, it was
No,
good.
I really liked the TikTok I saw the other day where I think it was his niece. He was like hugging his niece or something like that. And
Right.
you could see that other side of him. And
Yeah, because didn't Tristan not see his little girl the whole time he
Yeah.
was in, like a newborn baby, and he hadn't seen it at all?
Hadn't seen her.